Welcome to today's episode of It's Art at the End of the Day, where we explore the fascinating world of experimental printmaking with Jairo Zaldua. For over 2 decades, Jairo has collaborated with Nicola Green, creating dynamic works through silkscreen, collage and installation. Their multidisciplinary approach brings ideas to life across different media, producing vibrant pieces featured in renowned exhibitions and public collections like the V&A. We'll dive into their creative process, inspirations and stories behind their most captivating works. So let me introduce to you Jairo and Nicola. Did you both think you was artists? When did you become?
Oh my word.
I've got to start. Unfortunately, it's the same question I ask
When
everybody.
did we think we were artists?
Yeah, when did you
For me, it was really, really young. When I first could, I was always drawing and my family picked up on it and encouraged me.
Yes,
so I don't know how good I was, probably not, but I did try.
Yes, but that's nice that you have encouragement. Because it can.
But having said that, my although I went to art college young at 16 and did those things, and 16 to 21 or something, I didn't manage to get really much together as an artist beyond college until I met Jairo and we started working together.
Yeah.
That's...
Jairo, what about you? When did you, from day originally? From
so weirdly enough, I've always been interested in art, but actually my primary interest was film.
Okay. Oh wow.
I like really old horror films. I like the camera work, particularly the very old films from the 30s and 40s. I like the camera work, cinema photography, that kind of. And actually, another was when I was a teenager. I saw the film Eraserhead, David Lynch film.
Oh yeah.
And that was a massive influence on me, particularly David Lynch's films and the visual impact. So I did experiment being in a band, playing music. I had a bit of a false start. Went to drama college. I didn't like it.
Yeah, but it's still bits of life, isn't it, that you take with you.
But I learned something from it. Yeah, it's like all these things. The little facets of it were useful. Have been useful, and so it's interesting because when I was at art college. I went to college in my 20s. I didn't initially know I could call myself an artist until the first sign I began to think of it was when I discovered that printmaking. And I did a collage, and the tutors who didn't normally say anything about my work, I got a compliment, or I got quite an interesting reaction first time, and even then I thought, why is this one so special compared to that?
What's a collage?
So collage, there's different types of collages. There's the surface level, but it's when you add something. So you had a bit of card, and I added some eggshell and some different scrim and different surfaces. And then you ink it up, and then you print onto paper.
Oh, I see.
A little bit like the etching process. Yeah. But it has a surface. Yeah. And the advantage of the collage is you ink it up. Depending on how you ink it up, you can print the flat surface will come out with the raised surface.
All right.
So, for example, if I was printing this, say this was all inked up in green, and then I put some surface level, I put some scrim, and then I inked the scrim up in yellowy colour.
So you're getting a texture as well.
You're getting a texture as well. Yeah. That's it, and so you have to play around with it. But there's another way of doing collages, and this was different from this. And not many people use it. One of the Foundation, when the tutors introduced me to this, is that you got some silver foil card and you got us all to practice. Silver foil card is closer to an etching.
Okay.
So the silver foil card, you cut in with a scalpel blade. You cut the areas you want to print. Yeah. And then you ink them up. But you also you have the so you ink it up. You have the surface texture of the silver foil card itself. Yeah. But you also have the areas you cut in. Oh. So you get like a sort of a text. Yeah, you get the texture and embossed effects, which is quite nice. Yeah. And so that was the starting point.
No. Oh, I was going to jump. I interrupted you. Sorry. You're way ahead.
I was leading up to when I started working with you.
Right. I wanted to just jump in before we got too far ahead. But something which influences me because I forgot. Yeah. As I grew up, I was always quite a comic consumer and a lot of Marvel comics.
Yeah.
So even without realising it, the art subconsciously filtered through, and it was terrific. Chiaroscuro, stuff like Jack Kirby. It's just even without realising it, it kind of always. I can see how it fed my sense of drama and images.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can go back.
No, so yeah, because like Nicola was doing, we had different, we had our individual styles, but because we got slightly similar. I don't know. We both slightly influenced by German expressionist art.
Right. Yes, I'd lend towards it.
So I liked a lot of that. Was kind of and particularly in Foundation, that was a catalyst as a. I was like Edwin Monk, but that's not the way that our work ended up looking. That was that initial inspiration, but the collagraphs led to eventually get into screen printing, but there was a point where I think we had one exhibition as separate artists. And that was the only time we ever exhibited separately when we were still at college. But it seemed, I don't know, it just didn't click quite quickly that we should
work together.
Yeah. Add our resources together.
Yeah, indeed. It just because we were there was a local not free, but very, very inexpensive public studio in Islington in those days, Ormond Road, and we'd just go there. And Jairo, when he moved to London, to where I am, he started printing there, and it was kind of just natural to follow on. Yeah. And I have a background. I had about a couple of years in ceramics, and at that time, we were falling into using the expressionist idea and also using Russian symbolism and wording, wasn't it?
Yeah,
text?
use some of the text and
something. Revolutionary imagery. And we just began printing on old found wood and found objects, ones which could be burnt, and and we'd print these, and then we'd burn them with blow torches, and then we'd print all over again, and so on and so forth. Just
multi-layered, isn't it?
And dangerous sometimes.
And dangerous, scary. And my ceramics background certainly seemed to come into. I could see how that working. We're always thinking of layers under layers over layers. What was revealed, and you're pushing this thing to sometimes to point of almost disintegration, and that was so. And so we did quite a few of those.
That was actually, as Nicholas was talking about, following from what Nicholas said, that was what got us to work together, wasn't it? It was that project particularly. So I was playing a little bit with the blown wood because I started doing a little bit when I was end of last year at college, but I hadn't really pushed it very far. It's just like we're on the precipice of something interesting, but it didn't quite. Discovered it quite late into the. But then we worked together, and obviously Nicholas' ceramics background and all that way of thinking helped to dictate.
Whatever background, you're still bringing it in, aren't you?
Yeah, sure,
you can do anything, and you use what your past experiences are and. Whatever you worked on as before, you bring that in.
One of the, for me personally, because Nicola had different colleges, but one of my tutors, there was a tutor that at college, some of the students found him quite difficult, but I actually really liked him because he challenged me, because many of them don't always challenge, not in a way that's productive. And one of them said to me, he said some things that were complimentary, but then he said, but if you print that, you're just going to get more of the same, aren't you? And I thought, what's wrong with that? At the time, I didn't see what. So you know exactly when you're going to get a nice, competent print. I was like, is that so bad? He goes, but where was that taking you? Where is that pushing you? And then he said, why didn't you print that one on top of that one? And I thought, sacrilege. I thought, but all that hard work into it was a lino cut. I thought, these two lino cuts were hard. I can't print that one, so I was going to ruin it. And so I ignored him at first, and I just printed it the way he said I wanted to do it. But then I realised I thought, bloody hell, you're right. This is exactly what I expected. And then, so frustration, I thought, okay, let's try and do it the way he said it. And I thought, this is quite interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And so I carried on, and I guess with regards to us working together, we try to do elements of chance, don't we? He used to say to me that always make sure there's a bit of chance, element of chance in your work.
Okay.
I mean, you're naturally going to have chance. We've got two people
and because it's
working on a piece together, and
but that's good, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I mean, as you know, I'll watch you every week on your live Instagram, and I'll be honest, before I start to watch your work, I struggle with collages.
Yeah.
I, without being rude,
didn't see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then watching you do it, I now understand and get it and like it.
That's interesting.
thank you.
Yes,
Because
yes.
before it was, no, I don't get it.
Yes.
But I think it was just watching your process. Now I understand. Because, like, the eyeballs, I love that one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Love that one.
Our
And
purpose on Earth now is done.
yeah, and last night's, man, that had so much depth to it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
It
you.
was like,
Sorry about the sound quality wasn't good.
It's like you was distant.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know what caused it. We
but
tried to record it again. We got
It
some.
was just like, because you called it is Portal, wasn't it?
Yes.
And yeah, it did, because it had that
Yeah.
It looked almost 3D on a screen of a phone. And
Oh, it's great.
I'm like this, I'm going. And then you're putting the pieces in, I'm going, where are they going to put that? Where are they going to put that? But yeah, I understand
Thanks.
collage a lot more now. And yeah, before I just thought, it's just bits of paper stuff on it. You know,
That's fair enough.
because I've seen you do it,
Yes.
I'll get it. You know, I mean, we were speaking earlier. So you sometimes have ideas, or does it come as you're working?
I would say both.
It's
actually.
Yeah.
You've got a
Yeah.
vague idea of what you want to do. And
I
then,
mean, yeah, we do discuss it beforehand and prep the collage. With the collages, we prep a certain amount. We're cutting out certain figures and having a vague plan. It's not 100% down. It's can be worked on, but the aim is somewhat there.
Yeah. What's interesting actually when we work together, or actually even before the college, when we try to think of an idea and sometimes we have I don't have a clue. But it's interesting when under pressure how much you can come up with something very quickly.
yeah.
I mean, maybe it's true to all artists. I don't know. I find that
Yeah,
to an extent.
I was saying before, some shots that I've taken have been instantly as someone's walked by, look interesting, but others I sit there waiting for a certain composition. Yeah, and probably the same. You got your inkling of an idea, but then you add to it as you're going.
Yeah.
It's
There was he's not an artist. What's his name? That guy he does a podcast. He did the book about. He did. Oh, his name will come in. He did a book. It's called Thin Slicing, where you make a decision very, very quickly.
Okay.
And
Blink. The book.
Book's on Blink, and it's by. It'll come back. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But he's talking about how you're studying how to make how antique dealers or people make a very quick decision.
Yeah.
It's almost, and they almost get it right after a certain amount of practice.
Okay.
You have
Yeah,
you're very
true.
fine tuned.
Yeah.
And I find that when we were doing these mobile screen printing workshops together that's kind of what led somewhere to some things we've done more recently.
Yeah.
That particularly images we had at the art fair, and he said there's some moment you have when you're working with the public and you help them to make a print, and they give you an awkward suggestion like, say they've got a black print and they want to put grey and black or some colours that you think are going to merge, and you think, that ain't going to work. And you have to make this quick decision: should I work? How should we work? How can we make this work?
Yeah.
And you take a gamble. Nope, but 9 times out of, I say 8 times out of 10 maybe, to be fair, it does work. Because you think very quickly. You don't have too much time to think of the other to doubt yourself. So you think, well, okay, so what can we do with this black? So maybe make the double layer this black, or maybe make it a grey, more grey, and put a bit of white.
But you can interpret that, and that's because of both of your artistry, and you know what to do with it, isn't it? Just as much as like someone else who's not been doing it so long might fail because
I had something to add to it. I mean, I think having a background in any medium and gives that little bit of impetus and confidence, and sure, we're working in this. I used to do, once upon a time, I used to do tarot reading in public and in clubs, and the person who taught me because I was all very intuitive. I couldn't read the cards and I couldn't remember what they're about. Yeah. But I was taught to whatever was in my mind, just to say it. The first idea. Yeah. And even though that sounds cuckoo and a bit false, no. Actually the first thing which forms in your mind, the vague thing, as you go with it and talk about it, funnily enough, it's going to be about usually 70, 80, even 90% correct, weirdly. But it's a second thought, your own second guess about what you're looking at and what the person is about in front of you, and that's usually the wrong thing. Yeah. So it's very, very quick.
Art is from your heart and your head, isn't it? It's you. That's probably what that is. It's because it's part of you.
I did find Yes. I defined that when I did abstract, particularly when we did the burnt pieces, which fell into abstraction very quickly, I found the process absolutely similar. That kind of like working with invisible information.
It's that area when knowing when to stop, and you do. Yeah, it's a bit like Nicola said of Noah, like in the tarot card process, you just the first decision is off. We found often the first decision was the right one most of the time, with a few one or two exceptions. That whenever we doubted it. Afterwards, I thought, oh damn, we should have gone through that because that was actually probably a good idea. But there's that moment where you just know when to stop as well, isn't there?
There is that as well.
There was one image we did that we didn't do very much to. It was an abstract piece, but with burnt wood, and it was white on white, which again is not. I didn't think is in terms of commerciality, but anyway. But there's a point in there. I thought, is this looking quite interesting? Just this little bit of texture on the white and the white, leaving the white, most of the white intact, look quite good. But logically speaking, you think, but can you actually exhibit that? But we did, and it sold. And in fact, it probably would have sold again. It got quite a good response. It got a very good response. And
so, would you just think that the thing you doubt most, but maybe that the uncommercial sells better? The less commercial, that terrible.
I've got no way of telling because those are very different artworks.
Again, I think it's in the eye of the beholder of the person who buys, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they walk past and they see, wow, I like that, they'll buy it, aren't they? And whether it's commercial or not, it's what they see as well.
Yeah, they get a visceral response. I mean, those were like fine art paintings, I suppose, and many people do respond quite strongly to. Strong abstract paintings, ones which somehow work. But yes,
it was. It's an interesting thing about the whole business of selling how you sell yourself as a commercial artist, because we didn't primarily come to be. We didn't primarily set ourselves up as commercial artists, but obviously, like all of us, we all got to carry on doing what we do. We need to make some kind of money. Otherwise,
it's part of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
But it's interesting. How do you? I was having this conversation with my brother who's a musician, and we were talking about this aspect because it's difficult when people say, we should do something more commercial. And he said, the trouble is when you think, what you think is commercial, you say, someone else might still think it was a bit edgy or a bit whatever.
Yeah, I think you've got to do what is you. Is faithful to you. Is part of you. I don't believe in me doing a landscape because I'm not a landscape photographer. I'll take pictures of landscape because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's not something I would do.
No.
So I wouldn't do it. So I think you've got to be faithful to yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree totally.
Whether you sell a lot or not, you've got to do that's you.
No, I think you can't. I think there are some people who are very good at that, but I think most of the 9% I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Some people have that commercial brain and know what and do things that are very specific to be commercial, but we haven't got that mindset either.
And I think that's you've got to stick to what's true to yourself and the way your pieces are you and are lovely.
Thank you.
I think you've got to carry on. But I didn't realise, and I said that when we was at the exhibition, that you done your collage and screen printed over the top of that.
Ah, yes, good.
Because you're sitting there going, not really? Because that's where you're layering is, isn't it?
Correct,
some of them we have we do. So, they one influences the other, so we might make a collage and then make a screen print off the collage and then it becomes a screen, because you're thinking in a three-dimensional way, weren't we?
Yeah, sure, yes.
Yeah. And so that black and white one particularly was a challenge because it was originally a collage.
That's large
right,
yes.
One, and so we think, how do we turn this into a screen print without making it look too flat? And so we had to think about how do we get a variation between each section, and it should be easy, but it wasn't that easy.
For the benefit of people listening, that was a screen print collage of 9 black and white squares with these toy heads of I think fish. That was it.
Yeah.
Fish on sort of dancing figures.
Yeah. So when so the screen print process is you get the screen material.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you sort of punch holes in it so the ink comes through.
No. The screen, it's like a curtain mesh, and it's fine mesh pulled tight on a frame, so it's ready made, and it's got to be the right mesh, etc. And shall I go through it quickly? It's
please.
Yeah, it's you ought to have to arrange your design, whether it's just a drawing or a cutout thing, or usually it's more kind of with us. We we make make an image, we get it as black and white as possible. We might smarten it up digitally, so it's very, very acute and black and white. And it basictate, what's the word? It acts as a stencil.
Yes, it's like a photo stencil.
So we transfer it to acetate, don't we?
Yeah. So we transfer. We usually get printed onto acetate or something called polyester film.
Yeah.
And so we give them we send the file to them. Like a photographic company.
Yeah.
We can do it ourselves as well, but usually they get a better, more clear. It's better to get it on a decent printer. So they get it on. They get the blacks more black. Everything's much more defined.
Yeah.
So we get it. Yeah, we get it onto polyester film. Then we transfer it onto a screen. The screens are a bit like when you print the fabrics and t-shirts. It's a similar, but with a finer mesh.
Yeah.
And the screens are coated with photo emulsion. I don't know what you call it, liquid, blue photo emulsion liquid.
Yeah, it's photo emulsion, but the stuff they call is called azocol.
Yeah, okay. And it's a the finest layer you can get, fine but dense. You harden your photo emulsion and many processes in between. And so the screen goes in the, what's the machine called again? The photo emulsion machine.
The exposure unit.
Exposure unit, yes. The screen goes in the exposure unit, so you've got your screen, the acetate, and inside the exposure unit, which is basically a giant light box, and light goes through. It goes through, and it the image on the acetate imprints as a stencil on the screen.
Yeah, so you have so it depends on the kind of image or what you're doing. So if we had something quite a blocky image, quite big bold blocks, you put it in for longer, certain amounts of units. If you're trying to do something quite fine, delicate,
if you
put it on less
image. We're going to pop down and watch you do this. This is fascinating.
Yeah. So
if you don't mind,
sure.
But it's interesting.
So. What we had to do for this one, we some of them we had to go quite hard, put it on a higher setting. Some we had to put on a lower setting. So the bits where the details of the fish heads, that was on a lower setting. Okay. The big blocky shapes were on a higher setting.
Oh wow!
Yeah, lower. Yeah, so
it's
you put
really
less light. It's honestly, if you get it wrong, it really is a school. We have done it wrong in the past.
Oh yeah. But then can't you use that whatever sort of waste?
Sometimes we have done that.
You can use it on something else. You can make collage of that, maybe.
Well, you could, but if you're doing a nice, precise screen print and you want all the details to come out, then it's not quite right, because you want that specific screen print. But once it's on your screen, I think after a while you'll go and take it to a washout bay and gently clean it, and the bits which the stencil will stay and the other bits go.
Yeah, so that's the bits that print. Yeah.
Brilliant. It's not the old-fashioned photography, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
because they go in each different bath to then clean it off.
And then to make the print, you're laying your screen flat out, carefully registered onto paper. Yeah. You might use an arm. You might use a screen bed to anchor it.
Yeah.
And but it's all very carefully registered, and you pass the ink through with a squeegee, much like a window squeegee. So you have the ink on the squeegee, and you kind of do a stretching and pulling action.
So there's kind of an issue what is called flooding the screen, which is you gently glide it through, as Nicola said, and then after you pull through with more force. So you can do it manually or you can do it with an arm. If it's a large image like the one we did there, we do it with an arm because it's too much. Yes.
God, you make me feel lazy. All I do is click a button. It's so much work involved.
The thing with the screen printing, the complication you can is getting around it. So if it's an image you wanted, because getting a tonal range is difficult. So like on your photographs, you can get all the tonal, the different. With us, so you have to create an illusion of tonal range. We didn't need it to do it for this last image, but for some of them, what you do is you break it down into dots per inch, which you probably the DPR you do on Photoshop, and you have a breakdown.
Wow, right.
But we didn't have to do it for that one, luckily. But some of them we've had to do that.
So last night's work, was that in conjunction with the print shop, wasn't it? The portal, was that, or did I misunderstand?
I think those were more magazine images at that last night, particularly. But a lot of the time we're recycling screen prints.
You've got a lot of magazines.
We could combine the two. Initially, the principles were that we just use it would all be about our old screen prints or leftovers from our screen prints. But sometimes some subjects you don't have enough resources for them, and so we started mixing the two together.
Yeah. what you got coming up next? Got anything coming up next?
We've got Woolwich annual printmakers. What do you call it again?
Yeah, it's the Woolwich Contemporary Print Fair, but we're doing it as part of East London Printmakers. They got a space there, so that's from the 20th to the 24th of November. After that, it might, good for better or for worse, it might be the only thing we have. That's the last thing for this year.
Yeah.
It's close to Christmas.
Moving forward,
anything
sort of in the pipeline yet, or not just yet?
Possibly next year, with a friend, possibly something in Camden, but we haven't had nothing confirmed. Originally, there was a possibility of doing it in December, but it looks like it might get postponed.
Yeah. Yes, and there's that plan with HEP later in the year.
Yeah,
which is for we're probably still going for that, aren't we?
We're possibly going to apply to do a collaboration with a couple of people. There's also, again, in the past we collaborated with a Japanese dancer, but there's another dancer that we're thinking in mind. There's a few things we think possibilities.
Yeah.
But I guess a lot of it's a case of funding and possibilities and what we can do, and space.
In the past, we haven't had the resources recently, so we've been working more on a 2D level. But in the past, we've done big collaborations. In the past, with this Japanese dancer, we combined printmaking workshops with access to a health centre, and people would take the item they printed with us in the printmaking workshop and walk around the health centre with it and do various arty things all around the health centre. And on one occasion, the first of these occasions, which was quite dramatic, they did they printed words. It was sourced from literature. I think it was the Yellow Wallpaper at that time.
And Diary of a Madman.
And Diary of a Madman. And so they sourced these expressive words. They went around and they did expressive things in the building, up and down. They were guided. And in the very end, we had a shed which we'd wrapped up in screen print, wrapped like a mummy. It was wrapped up in random words from the 19th century book, and it was wrapped up and they coiled all around. They had to queue to get into it, and they went one by one.
So I'll show you examples.
To finish what I was saying, there was inside of the mummified shed, there are many, many more coils of white print, all ripped and wholly with the words of the story on it, because we're interested in, I don't know, alternate states of mind, madness. And inside there was a dancer, costumed and hidden in this tiny shed and all the coils of paper. And people found themselves in the shed having a one-to-one with this silent dancer. And some of them apparently were scared, which I was delighted by.
It's a shock a bit.
It's interesting. I mean, I'll get to this picture in a minute. Because we couldn't get fund initially. We do all these problems. It's problematic because you don't necessarily get funding for it, and you have to take time off for it. But the way around it, the NHS said they'd give us money if we could do something educational, a workshop. So we did a lino cut workshop where people had to print words and place them around the building. And it was the lino cut workshop that led to us doing the screen printing workshops, which is actually weirdly enough is what we end up with work we did now, which is almost quite different.
Yes.
But that's an interesting. So it's like a live installation with your work as well. So.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So we'd quite enjoyed doing that. Actually,
it's again something different, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. We enjoy collaborations and kind of like. Gives us new, fresh ideas. Whereas another one, we want to exhibit it yet. Hang on.
That was the dancer, and that was the coils. We screen printed onto an old lining paper.
Well, that took some work, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, it took it was nearly a week putting it up. Arranging it.
That's unbelievable.
It was about a week, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Because unfortunately, I haven't got a picture, but we also the shed itself. The idea was it was a residency, so we did about 5 or 6 different events. By the final event, the outside of the shed was also wrapped up in coils and print. So we kept expanding by each date. So in a way, possibly to hope that people will come back and look at it again.
Oh definitely. Yeah, more intricate than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's superb.
But it's. Each one is like I said, each project is always a challenge, and it was. it was interesting because we both kind of like them things that develop over time as well. You like a project, you can have a project, and you can see how it evolves over.
Yeah.
Someone who probably wouldn't like say someone who was not particularly keen on our stuff would say, "Oh, your stuff looks a bit like a work in progress."
Yeah.
But actually, all of us, as I we think to an extent, it's not quality.
Yeah. So, have you come back to some pieces? Like, have you done stuff and then come back and either carried it on or quite changed direction because you've left it and come back, or do you tend to finish a piece?
I don't know, themes seem to be ongoing, and yes, we do come back. Projects are ongoing. We've got a fishy exhibition which has been installed in several places, and a big installation, and we do keep developing it and enlarging it, and now it's, as you know, in Dagenham.
Yes, I know. That's brilliant.
They change depending. Sometimes it's site specific. It changes depending on the location, and but some projects we did have some screen prints. The series called The Dreaming of Butterflies, and that changed. We started doing it in 2016. Then we left a 7-year gap, didn't we?
Oh yes.
And then we came back to it in 2023. But then it changed because we had other further develop. We thought we couldn't develop it further, but when we realised we could, we just started. We continued.
We just added to it, and so the latest installation of that. Not only are there kind of more specific and stronger screen prints based on it, but also with we took one of the screen prints and which we thought we could change, and we actually started sewing butterflies into it.
Wow.
So the butterflies are metallic and they're on wires and they're projecting outwards.
Yeah.
And we exhibited it with alongside its screen printed siblings at the last exhibition.
So it kind of take on the journey, the final one being. Because up to that point, there wasn't no butterflies on the image.
There were no butterflies, no.
That's what I mean. There's so much depth to your work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, coming back to what I said earlier, that when I didn't understand collage, but collage is layers and depth. Even though it's a 2D image, it's still got depth, and I find I find that really clever. I don't know. It hurts my head watching you because it's like last night. There was so much depth in that.
Yeah, thank you.
But it's amazing, really, to be honest with you. Have you got any projects in your head that you want to do soon, or any ideas that need to come out?
Ah, gosh, it's been full on lately. But we're expanding on what we got. We're doing there's different things. We're expanding on these toy dancer ones, and I think we're doing some larger ones.
Yeah, so the next is to increase us, possibly do a large version of them, but also again it's weird. We thought about maybe is there a way to make them 3-dimensional? So we haven't thought exactly how we could do that, but
that'd be interesting.
We have got a 3-dimensional work since we did this little doll's house, which had some of the toy dancers on the back of it and other imagery. It's collaged all over, and inside some little toy things live, and so we want to exhibit that, and
we were going to try and do it for this, but we realised it was going to be problematic, so we let it go.
That's right,
so it's kind of like maybe we'll take those creatures and kind of round them out a bit more with a 3-dimensional thing as well.
Yeah, that's gonna.
And so there's that to do. There's more. There's other Dreaming of Butterflies works to sharpen up for other exhibitions.
The other, because further to what you were saying, there were suggestions, weren't there, that like all the projects, there's suggestions for all of them that could all be interesting. Like the fish installation, we did it again, would be to try and get some movements.
Yes.
So if there's something where you can move around, or there's some form of, even like a fan or something to make them slightly move, and then maybe have lighting, and so that's another possibility. Again, we have to look into that. It depends on the space and what's allowed and what's possible.
Yeah, because it was in a pink telephone box, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was good.
So that's one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah. Eventually, as well, dear to my heart, there's a project we did during lockdown, which has been slightly in mothballs, and. But there was a lot of collaboration in it because we couldn't go any further. So we were in contact with collaborators online, and it's called Imaginary Friends in Isolation, an imaginary friend, usually an adult, to guide them through lockdown. Yeah. And we encourage people to write in a few lines to describe their imaginary and how it would guide them for lockdown. Really and then we we'd allow ourselves a week, Jairo and I, to do a screen print on our kitchen table of this creature which we'd create, and we did that, and we'd maybe photograph it and talk about it, and we'd pass it over to another collaborator who'd make a short film and act, and somebody else who made another piece of art, and Jairo's brother who made a 1 minute of music to it, and posted it all up as a chain on Instagram, and so there's that's a let out of its cage.
The project's called Imagery Friends in Isolation. It's because we were all, because of COVID, we couldn't do anything, and then it came the idea, why don't we all collaborate online and do something together? So we set up with this. It was like a thread of images. The first thing that someone would send a message about their imaginary friend. It's like, my imaginary friend is any example could be, imagine if my imaginary friend is a doctor, would be a doctor who would help me. One was a history doctor.
Yes.
And so we created an image that was based on this history doctor, and then we passed it on to one of our friends, collaborators, and she did an acting skit based on dressed up a little bit like the screen print, and said, I'm a history doctor. And then we passed it on to someone else who did a digital mashup, and then we passed it on to my brother who made some music to it. So the thread went from the different directions.
Yes. I was speaking to different people, artists and that. They enjoyed lockdown, or it sort of helped their creativity.
Did us as well.
You had to do something. So everyone I've spoken to since I've been doing podcasts have mentioned lockdown.
Yeah.
And one guy went to Penzance and studied.
Yeah.
Locked himself in a room, studied and stuff like that. And lockdown did a lot for artists. I think.
It did, I think, because it gave you excuse to be able to
you had nothing else to do, really, did you? So you had to do something.
Yeah.
Other people may not have fared so well, but I think artists did.
No, it's an interesting because I was still getting, I was on furlough, so I got paid, which was okay, and I didn't have to work, and so I was actually quite pleased. We were both quite pleased. We were both on furlough, and we just carried on doing our work. We concentrated on the work, and at the time, but it's a difficult area because obviously some people have very different experiences. So whenever I bring the subject, I'm aware that not everyone had the same experience.
I was a delivery driver at that point, so I was still working. But even if I was a photographer, it'd be no good for me because there would have been nobody about for me to take pictures of. It wouldn't have worked for me. But I find artists.
No, we did. It's probably our most
found it.
Prolific. Yeah, we did a lot about that.
We were very fast. We did these images, and there were a lot of them, certainly 10, 11, maybe more. But we did them in a turnaround of a week to a week and a half with all the other people involved, and to get their input, and then to put the thing up online and to be received. So that's what we did.
That's when we did the live demos. The live college demos came out of lockdown. I don't think we would have done it had not been lockdown.
No, but I haven't seen anybody else do that kind of thing.
We kind of got challenged to go online because we never used to show our faces online. That was we just
I'm
wouldn't do it.
And
then someone said, "Why don't you do it?" And I thought, I really.
That's what I go under Photoglow. I haven't got my T-shirt, which I haven't got on here. I hardly ever put my name on. It's always Photoglow because I like to be in the background, and that's why this is audio and not a YouTube type thing because I don't like the camera. No. That's what I'm behind it.
What challenged us actually what's the catalyst for this was that somebody from Ghana wanted to do an interview with us during lockdown. He called himself the African artist. Really nice guy. He did an interview, and we did a live interview. We set up a live interview with him, but not him, but we were not used to it, and we tried to do it on the iPhone, and our voices kept cutting out, and
see our faces both together, and
it wasn't quite right. But so it almost became like we've got to do this right because. So we thought, why don't we go live next week ourselves and try it out between us and see.
You got to carry on
because it went quite well. The first one went quite well. Yeah, it was moderately successful. It was quite encouraging because people came back and said, guys, this is really good. And I thought, actually, maybe we should do it. So we did it again the week after, with the intention of finishing after lockdown. But then it gave us a routine, so we just carried on.
Oh no, please carry on. Please carry on, because I think anybody else who watches it, when sometimes because you've been too busy, you haven't been able to do it like last week.
Yeah. Yes.
You're like, what do I do on a Wednesday now? What do I look at on a Wednesday now? I'm like,
no, ideally we'll just try and keep it consistent.
They are fascinating. Yeah. I love watching you.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's absolutely
I'm very flattered. I think I'm doing this tiddly thing for ages, and it's astonishing to find that people find something, because I think, oh God, it's going to be boring because we're doing...
Not at all. Cause I think because you see art, but you don't necessarily see it being created in front of you.
That's interesting. Yes.
And seeing it being created right there.
Yeah.
As if you're in the room.
Yeah.
And that's what I think fascinates a lot of people who watch you. You're seeing it going on in front of you and your creative process. And that's what fascinates me, and I'm sure other people that watch is the same. They wouldn't watch.
It's interesting because you see people come in, they disappear, and come back in again later.
I'm riveted. As soon as I come in, I can't go away. I get text messages and quickly go, stop texting me because I've got to watch it.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
No, we try to keep it every Wednesday, but sometimes it's been few weeks. Next week's going to be the same problem again, so we hope might do it Friday next week. We're going to try and aim to do it. We try to do at least one day.
I will be there. I'll be watching, definitely. Thank you for talking to me. It's been really fascinating.
It's good.
I love your work, and
thank you.
Continue to watch you and
thanks, David.
Carry on talking to you. And I must come down and see you do that screen printing, because that's fascinating. I'd like to see it in action.
All right.
So you do it if you wouldn't mind. If you don't mind.
Not at all.
Thank you for coming to visit me.
It was a wonderful talking to Nicola and Jairo, and learning all about silkscreen printing and collage. And please, you must go and watch them when they do their live stream on Instagram. Usually sort of Wednesdays, but sometimes it changes due to how busy they are. I'll put their Instagram address on the description of this podcast, so please go and watch it. It's fascinating to watch sort of live art being created in front of your very eyes. Thank you for listening. That was, what are we on? I can't even remember what number we're on now. Number 5? If not, it might be a different number. But thank you once again, and please come back next time when I have another fascinating discussion with an amazing artist for its art at the end of the day.